Hi, Sailor Moon here, Sailor Mar, Sailor Red World here, and today we're going to talk about why a lot of folks in the Sailor Moon followership hate the Deep Glee Sailor Moon. And some folks will say that hate is a too strong a word. Need be they unlike it. Well, first off, they bring up all the skimming that the Walt Disney business and Deep Glee did to it from 9 between 95 YL to 9 between 98 YL, because that was really how long the deal went for. And then keep in mind that it was then sold to Disney in 9 between 98 YL until they sold Deke off in 2001 YL. So anyway, a lot of folks will talk about the show playing. Now, I thought the show playing was good. I thought that the North Vinlander Settlelander show players did very well with playing the selves that they were casted as. And some folks did not. Some folks thought that the show playing wasn't good enough. It didn't meet their standards. Or some folks just didn't think that that Sailor Moon and that Serena and her friend should be speaking North Vinlander should be speaking Settlelander English or speaking 4-1 Reich in English. I don't know. They just didn't like that. Another thing that they were upset over were borrowed names being shifted out. They make a big deal about the Dawnish borrowed names and thought they shouldn't have been skimmed out. And then they then take time to bitch about the Latinist borrowed names, the French's borrowed names, the Spanish borrowed names, the Hebrewish borrowed names, the Hellenish borrowed names, and also the Farsi borrowed names, and also to make a big deal about the Blacklandish borrowed names. And keep in mind, these names that were borrowed, the borrowed names that I just told you, those names were most names that folks speaking English would know, since English borrowed more names from those speeches than they did from Dawnish. But they made a big deal about it. They also made a big deal about the fighting. They bitched and said that, oh, the blood was skimmed it out, or the weapons were skimmed it out, or just something about the fighting that they just didn't like, you know? And they grew to hate that. And I don't understand. Now, I can understand why someone maybe not like that, but to hate it, I don't understand that. And then if the show playing, name shifting, and the skimming of either blood or weapons or something was too much for them, they also made a big deal, about the songs. Now, you would think that songs are the only thing that most folks in the Sailor Moon followership, when it comes to the Deep Glee Sailor Moon, can truly like. Yeah, that's it. That's the only thing they can tell you they like about it, and it's sad. Now, my show, the Deep Glee Sailor Moon, was not flawless, but it wasn't as unwatchable as a lot of folks like to make it out to be. You got anything to say about this? Well, yeah, you're right, Serena. You're right, Sailor Moon. The Sailor Moon followership does overplay and makes a big deal about the show playing or the speaking playing. A lot of them seem to be upset and didn't think that the show players that were hired by Deep Glee through Opium Productions or Opium Craftings, they didn't think they in their mind, they didn't like how they spoke for us. They also did make a big deal about borrow names being shifted out for other borrow names. And yes, I did make a big deal about the fighting being skimmed or weapons being skimmed out, or whatever. And when it comes to the unstraight folks like Zoisite and Millikite, yes, I'm calling them by those borrowed names. Sorry. They make a big deal about it. They behave as if it was the and they bitch about this. And the only grounds I can come up with to tell you is that back at that time, it was believed to be unright if there was someone who was unstraight in a film, show, or play, and it was for children, then that was seen as a no-go. At that time, folks. Well, nowadays, if you have an unstraight self in a play, film, show for children, then it is now seen as right as rain, the way it should have been. And nowadays, a lot of folks have, a more understanding and trusting and open-mindedness towards the unstraight folks of the world. And, and back then, Deke Lee in the Walt Disney business were worried about UPN and WB and USA and Cartoon freaking out over that. They were worrying about bearers and teachers and worship leaders, getting freaked out over it. So that's why Zoisite had to become a woman. And I'm sorry if a lot of the folks in the Sailor Moon followership got angry over that thing. So at the end of the day, those seem to be the only things that they're upset when it comes to the Deke Lee Sailor Moon. Show playing, name shifting, fighting or blood being skimmed out. Zoisite and Millikite becoming straight instead of being unstraight. Those seem to be the only things that they're upset when it comes to the Deke Lee Sailor Moon over. Where this hatred itself came from or unlike, I don't know. Well, you're right, Sailor. You're right, Ray. You're right, Sailor Mars, Sailor Red World. I truly don't know where the hatred or the unlike of the Deke Lee Sailor Moon came from. We'll truly never know. I can give you some guesses and make this film longer, but I don't want to. Give this film a like, share and playlist it, and we'll see you later.